Right, when an app asks to access your location data and you denied permission, does the app follow the rules? Maybe not. A new study has found that more than 1,000 Android apps routinely sneak past Google's restrictions and collect your information even when you're explicitly denied the app permission to do so. And Android isn't the only culprit. Social media law specialist Diana Schwartz joins us now in studio to talk more about this. Very good morning, Diana. Thank you so much for joining me. I want to start with the FaceApp that, that was this past couple of weeks, celebrities all around the world have been using this FaceApp. What is the key problem with it now?
I think the main issue is that people are unaware of what is actually happening to their data and what information is being collected and what is it being used for. So I think many people look at the fun aspect of it and they want to go onto the FaceApp and do the challenge. It's great to see what we look like in years down the line or even earlier years.
Yeah.
But what they don't realize is that their personal information, what actually happens to it, because unfortunately many people don't look at the T's and C's of apps in general and platforms in general. They accept them and then they wonder why my personal data is being collected and being used, and they think it's without their consent, but actually by ticking those T's and C's they've actually accepted the terms of that app.
Because your face can be used for anything, a fake passport, basically anything. I'm giving you the rights to my image. That's what we're doing, isn't it? That's
exactly what you're doing, unfortunately. And what these apps are doing, and in particular the Face app, it gives them a license to use that picture and the personal data that comes with it for basically whatever purpose they like. And that's unfortunately what we don't, when we don't read those T's and C's, we're not aware of that, and then we wonder why our picture suddenly appears somewhere on some billboard somewhere.
Now, is this FaceApp suspicious because it's originating from Russia? We've got the Americans, even an American senator, saying we need to investigate this whole thing. Is that really needed, or is this because it's a Russian app?
Look, I think the concerns are warranted. I mean, when we have our data that's being stored in other countries and we've now granted an irrevocable license to use that data, and when it comes to political concerns, it's definitely an issue, especially when we're looking at Russia and that whole Russian-American, dilemma that always has been around for years. But we're also looking at what is this information going to be used for, because we've seen in political agendas propaganda is used on social media as well. And so that can be quite a valid concern, I think.
Okay. All right, let's talk about apps. About 5,400 apps will be collecting data from your phone without your permission, even if you say no. They can still bypass the Google protection systems. Am I correct?
Yes, definitely. I mean, look, technology is, it's huge. And basically, hackers, as well as these apps, they're very smart, and the technology is smart, so they can bypass certain things, although lawfully are not allowed to do so if you do not consent to it. So I think it is a huge concern. We have to be very mindful of what we are accepting. We need to read those T's and C's and also keep those privacy and security settings very highly in place, because if we don't do that, we run a greater risk. Obviously, if it's without consent, we have recourse in terms of the law to sue these platforms, to also because that's our personal information.
Good luck trying to sue Uber or whatever it is, that's not that simple, is it?
It's not simple, no, definitely not.
Okay.
But there is recourse, yes.
But in the United States, they've got the Data Protection Commission. What do we have protecting us here in South Africa?
Okay, so in South Africa, obviously, we have the right to privacy. And we have the wonderful new piece of legislation, the Protection of Personal Information Act. It's not completely in effect yet, but it will be. And that act is effectively very similar to the EU General Data Protection Regulations in South Africa. And this Act's purpose is to ensure that the processing and storing of personal information is lawful and safe. So this is where we're going to have recourse in South Africa, where our information is being collected without a consent, where it's being stored incorrectly, and it's not kept in accordance with those procedures and requirements.
Diana, what are they doing with this information? Are they on selling it to third parties? Is this marketing purposes? What do they do with this information?
I think what we always need to remember is that data is a commodity and it's being bought and sold everywhere. My personal data, for example, my cell phone number has been sold so many times, and I know this because I get numerous calls from marketers all the time.
Yep.
And then when you ask the question, how did you get my number?
Exactly.
Please remove it from your database. So it is a commodity, but I think what they're doing, the purpose is manifold. They're storing that information for purposes of research, analytics, targeting in terms of marketing, all sorts of things.
Yeah.
So we really, really have to be quite careful.
Okay. So if you find your information like you're saying now, somebody's giving you calls, is being used online.
Yes.
What does a person do, the layman do? What's the first thing I must do then?
What I do is when somebody calls me and I haven't given consent for them to be calling me, I ask them, how did you get my information? And they'll say, most of the time fumble and say, well, okay, we have it on our database. And then I'll say, please remove it from your database. I have not given my consent for that. And then they'll say, yes, ma'am, we'll do so, because they know in terms of not only POPI that's coming out, we also have the Consumer Protection Act that protects us in terms of marketing. But we, if our personal information, if we're aware that it is out there and we want it removed from a certain database or from certain apps or platforms, we need to take action proactively and basically seek legal advice and get that removed.
But the first thing is just don't put your stuff out there in the first place.
Exactly.
Be careful what you sign up to. Be careful what you download. That's really where it all starts, isn't it?
That's exactly where it starts. And I think that what we don't realize is that we're not anonymous behind our screens and our devices. There's this myth of anonymity that comes along with social media, and we're not anonymous. And our data can be used for very nefarious purposes if we're not careful. I mean, it's a simple example. You post that you're going on holiday somewhere, and then your house gets burgled.
Exactly.
It's as simple as that.
All right. Thank you so much, Diana Schwartz, social media law specialist, joining us in studio, talking about the fact that you got these new apps that you can all download all over the place. The FaceApp that everybody's using at the present moment. Do you know what they're doing with your data? All the stuff that you're putting online, be very careful. Diana, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right. Now, the FaceApp challenge dominated on social media this week with its old age filter that lets you see what you could look like in the future. But while it's tickling many, many funny bones around the world, could it be an evil plot by the Russians? There we go again. To steal your data, Matilda Mutuatlacha has more on that story.
The FaceApp challenge is the latest digital craze. This challenge involves using one of the app's filters to digitally age your face. But is the Russian app a danger to your privacy? While many have been playing around and having a good laugh, others are concerned about the terms of service. The privacy policy states that users grant the app an endless, royalty-free license to publicly display their information in media formats now known or later developed. The terms go on to say, by using the services, you agree that the user content may be used for commercial purposes. While many of us tend to skip the T's and C's, it might be time to take a second look. Matilda Mutuatlacha, Johannesburg.
Yes, indeed. Take a second look at what you're posting online. All right.